Narendra and other devotees finished their morning duties and came to the master. With a sweet smile on his lips, Shri Ramakrishna was standing on the northeast veranda, close to his own room. Narendra, we noticed several sannyasis belonging to the sect of Nanak in the Panchvati. Master, yes, they arrived here yesterday. To Narendra, I would like to see you all sitting together on the mat. As they sat there on the master looked at them with evident delight. He then began to talk with them. Narendra asked about spiritual discipline. Master, bhakti, love of God, is the essence of all spiritual discipline. Through love one acquires renunciation and discrimination naturally. Disciplines of Tantra. Narendra, isn't it true that the Tantra prescribes spiritual discipline in the company of women? Master, that is not desirable. It is a very difficult path and often causes the aspirant's downfall. There are 3 such kinds of discipline. One may regard woman as one's mistress or look on oneself as her handmaid or as her child. I look on woman as my mother. To look on oneself as her handmaid is also good, but it is extremely difficult to practice spiritual discipline looking on woman as one's mistress. To regard oneself as her child is a very pure attitude. The sannyasis belonging to the sect of Nanak entered the room and greeted the master, saying, Namo Narayana. Shri Ramakrishna asked them to sit down. All is possible with God. Master, nothing is impossible for God. Nobody can describe His nature in words. Everything is possible for Him. There lived at a certain place 2 yogis who were practicing spiritual discipline. The sage Narad was passing that way one day. Realizing who he was, one of the yogis said, You have just come from God Himself. What is He doing now? Narad replied, Why, I saw Him making camels and elephants pass and repass through the eye of a needle. At this the yogi said, Is that anything to wonder at? Everything is possible for God. But the other yogi said, What? Making elephants pass through the eye of a needle? Is that ever possible? You have never been to the Lord's dwelling place. At 9 o'clock in the morning, while the master was still sitting in his room, Manu Mohan arrived from Konagar with some members of his family. In answer to Shri Ramakrishna's kind inquiries, Manu Mohan explained that he was taking them to Calcutta. The master said, Today is the first day of the Bengali month, an inauspicious day for undertaking a journey. I hope everything will be well with you. With a smile, he began to talk of other matters. When Narendra and his friends had finished bathing in the Ganges, the master said to them earnestly, Go to the Panchvati and meditate there under the banyan tree. Shall I give you something to sit on? Discrimination and dispassion. About 10:30, Narendra and his Brahmo friends were meditating in the Panchvati. After a while, Shri Ramakrishna came to them. M2 was present. The master said to the Brahmo devotees, In meditation, one must be absorbed in God. By merely floating on the surface of the water, can you reach the gems lying at the bottom of the sea? Then he sang, Taking the name of Kali, dive deep down, O mind, into the heart's fathomless depths, where many a precious gem lies hid. But never believe the bed of the ocean bare of gems. If in the first few dives you fail, with firm resolve and self-control, dive deep and make your way to Mother Kali's realm. Down in the ocean depths of heavenly wisdom lie the wondrous pearls of peace, O mind, and you yourself can gather them, if you but have pure love and follow the scripture's rule. Within those ocean depths as well, 6 alligators lurk, lust, anger, and the rest, swimming about in search of prey. Smear yourself with the turmeric of discrimination. The very smell of it will shield you from their jaws. Upon the ocean bed lie strewn unnumbered pearls and precious gems. Plunged in, says Ram Prasad, and gather up handfuls there. Narendra and his friends came down from the seats on the raised platform of the Panchvati and stood near the master. He returned to his room with them. The master continued, When you plunge in the water of the ocean, you may be attacked by alligators, but they won't touch you if your body is smeared with turmeric. There are no doubt 6 alligators, lust, anger, avarice, and so on, within you in the heart's fathomless depths. But protect yourself with the turmeric of discrimination and renunciation, and they won't touch you. Futility of mere lecturing. What can you achieve by mere lecturing and scholarship without discrimination and dispassion? God alone is real and all else is unreal. God alone is substance and all else is non-entity. That is discrimination. First of all, set up God in the shrine of your heart and then deliver lectures as much as you like. How will the mere repetition of Brahma profit you if you are not imbued with discrimination and dispassion? It is the empty sound of a conch shell. There lived in a village a young man named Padmalochan. People used to call him Podo for short. In this village there was a temple in a very dilapidated condition. It contained no image of God. Ashwath and other plants sprang up on the ruins of its walls. Bats lived inside and the floor was covered with dust and the droppings of the bats. The people of the village had stopped visiting the temple. One day after dusk, the villagers heard the sound of a conch shell from the direction of the temple. They thought perhaps someone had installed an image in the shrine and was performing the evening worship. One of them softly opened the door and saw Padmalochan standing in a corner blowing the conch. No image had been set up. The temple hadn't been swept or washed, and filth and dirt lay everywhere. Then he shouted to Podo, "You have set up no image here within the shrine of fool. Blowing the conch you simply make confusion worse confounded. Day and night 11 bats scream there incessantly." Purification of mind. There is no use in merely making a noise if you want to establish the deity in the shrine of your heart. If you want to realize God, first of all purify the mind. In the pure heart God takes his seat. One cannot bring the holy image into the temple if the droppings of bats are all around. The evil 11 bats are our 11 organs, 5 of action, 5 of perception, and the mind. First of all invoke the deity, and then give lectures to your heart's content. First of all dive deep, plunge to the bottom and gather up the gems. Then you may do other things, but nobody wants to plunge. People are without spiritual discipline and prayer, without renunciation and dispassion. They learn a few words and immediately start to deliver lectures. It is difficult to teach others. Only if a man gets a command from God after realizing him is he entitled to teach. Thus conversing, the master came to the west end of the veranda. M stood by his side. Shri Ramakrishna had repeated again and again that God cannot be realized without discrimination and renunciation. This made M extremely worried. He had married and was then a young man of 28, educated in college in the Western way. Having a sense of duty, he asked himself, do discrimination and dispassion mean giving up woman and gold? He was really at a loss to know what to do. M to the master, what should one do if one's wife says, "You are neglecting me, I shall commit suicide"? Master in a serious tone, give up such a wife if she proves an obstacle in the way of spiritual life. Let her commit suicide or anything else she likes. The wife that hampers her husband's spiritual life is an ungodly wife. Immersed in deep thought, M stood leaning against the wall. Narendra and the other devotees remained silent a few minutes. The master exchanged several words with them. Then suddenly going to M, he whispered in his ear, "But if a man has sincere love for God, then all come under his control, the king, wicked persons, and his wife. Sincere love of God on the husband's part may eventually help the wife to lead a spiritual life. If the husband is good, then through the grace of God, the wife may also follow his example." This had a most soothing effect on M's worried mind. All the while he had been thinking, let her commit suicide, what can I do? M to the master, this world is a terrible place indeed. Master to the devotees, that is the reason Chaitanya said to his companion Nityananda, listen brother, there is no hope of salvation for the worldly minded. On another occasion the master had said to M privately, yes, there is no hope for a worldly man if he is not sincerely devoted to God, but he has nothing to fear if he remains in the world after realizing God. Nor need a man have any fear whatsoever of the world if he attains sincere devotion by practicing spiritual discipline now and then in solitude. Chaitanya had several householders among his devotees, but they were householders in name only, for they lived unattached to the world. It was noon, the worship was over, and food offerings had been made in the temple. The doors of the temple were shut. Shri Ramakrishna sat down for his meal, and Narendra and other devotees partook of the food offerings from the temple.